Hey, beautiful soul. This is the Menopause Coach Podcast with me, your host, Adele Johnston, the Menopause Coach and Educator, International Menopause Support Coach Certification founder, and Psychology Master. I'm your mentor for the next 20 minutes or so, and together, you and I, we are making women's health and menopause mainstream. Let me ask you something that might make you feel a little bit uncomfortable. I'm here to support you. Sometimes that means a little hidden truth. What if the traits that got you promoted or the business success that you are experiencing are the same ones that are actually prematurely aging you? Your resilience, the way we show up when things are hard and we continue to do that. Your reliability, because you're always the person that people can rely on. You're the yes person. And your ability to push through when things feel a little bit exhausting. All of these things can be detrimental, and I'm going to explain why. What if your ambition isn't just about building out your career or your business? What if it's actually accelerating your biological age? Not in a metaphorical manner, but actually in a cellular level aging. I just want you to listen into this one for a bit. Because what I've got to share with you today is something that has sat on my heart and in my mind for a very, very long time. But I needed to do my own healing before I could come and share this with you. Here's what we don't talk about enough as women. High achieving women like you and I often overlook certain things that are impacting on our health, happiness and well-being. Yeah, whilst we are really pushing for the things that we want. Today we're going to talk about the biological impact of modern success culture. So stick with me. I'm going to ask you a question that most conversations will avoid. Was this model of success ever designed for female biology in the first place? And we're going to look at this together with the science. I want to look at your biological age. And to get there, we're going to cover, first off, your chronological age. We all know what that is, right? That's the actual number. I'm 42. I've been on this planet. I'm born for 42 years, 43 this August. So your chronological age, you will already know. It's how old you are. But that's the number of birthdays you've had. Your biological age is different. Your biological age measures your own body at a cellular level, how your cells are aging, how your cells are thriving, healing, performing, how your actual body is aging. So two women could be 40, 42, 43, and one may have very low inflammation, very stable hormones. I mean, it's very unusual for women, very healthy metabolic function markers, and really good muscle mass. But the other may show elevated inflammation, disrupted sleep patterns, hormonal dysregulation, hello menopause, and shortened telomeres. We're going to cover what that is in a moment. You may have the same chronological age, but different biological ages. It is so possible, it happens all the time. And that's what accelerates the wear and tear on the cells and what ages you, your skin, your organs, your you-ness. Other things that impact on that and that have a really big role to play are things like stress, we know, sleep disruption, inflammation itself, which can come from many different forms and modalities, hormonal instability, which we know happens for us the whole of our lives. It's not just in menopause, for many different reasons. And also that ability for the body to recover can be really vastly impacted. It sounds like I'm describing every single woman in the world right now, right? Because it is something that we have to be mindful of. Now, I mentioned the word telomeres, and this is really interesting. These are protective caps. Think of them like little caps that sit on the top of your chromosomes, and they shorten down with stress. Yeah, it's really important. I was actually doing some prep work for my 15-year-old's biology exam that she had this week. So I was sitting doing some studying with her. And when sitting with Clara this week and helping her prepare for that exam, it was really interesting relearning all of this stuff and thinking, oh my God, like our body is amazing. It's so complicated, incredibly complex when we look at the endocrine system and our hormones as women. It's not a wonder we don't have really strong, structured, detailed research in our endocrine system as women, because we are very complicated. Next up, however, so your telomeres are a part of this. You've got epigenetic changes that happen, and this is about how lifestyle turns your genes on and off. Yeah, we all have these epigenetics, these part of who we are, these DNA marker points. But your lifestyle will determine how those genetics respond to certain lifestyle factors. Cortisol patterns play a huge role in your aging, whether that be on demand in terms of your aging, your chronological age, or whether that is accelerated or decelerated depending on where you are. Your inflammatory marker points are a huge indicator of aging cells. And the body is always adapting to your environment that you're around or that you create. Yeah, the choices that you have, where you live, what you do, how you respond to stress. But here's the critical point in all of this. High-performing women don't usually live in dramatic stress spikes. Okay? They live in stress plateaus. So, let me say that again. High-performing women don't typically have dramatic stress spikes, but they will have plateaus in those stress markers and responses. Living within that low-grade chronic stress, always being consistent with that, always being functional, always being reactive, will have you at a base marker point of constant stress. So rather than spikes, you're constantly there and just having those drops and plateaus as things feel a little bit easier. So I want to be really clear that highly functioning doesn't necessarily mean that you are healthy, and it doesn't mean that you are necessarily successful. Let me share a little bit deeper on that. There's this myth that if you are overproductive, always on, always doing things, that you are successful, you are doing well, and you're fine. Yeah, how are you? I'm good. How are you? I'm fine. But if you're leading meetings constantly, if you are managing the home environment constantly, if you are the go-to person for all the things, you are obviously always hitting deadlines, you're the person that can be relied on, then of course it is seen on the outside and probably perceived by you on the inside that everything is fine. You're good, you're okay, you're successful. But high functioning is not the same as feeling healthy and regulated. Okay, cortisol is your primary stress hormone. We've covered this in many episodes, and it's designed for short bursts, not always being on. Yeah, designed to solve a problem, get you out of the threat, and then return you to safety. Yeah, if you think of it like, we have a problem, we deem that there's a threat, we resolve it and get back to safety. So cortisol will spike to allow us to do that, to look at the problem solving, to get ourselves through the threat, and to then return back to safety. And then cortisol will lower. But modern ambitious women do not ever have that recycling round. Yeah, we don't ever see that we are in this kind of modern ambitious life, but it doesn't allow us to return to safety all of the time. There's always another email that comes in that's marked urgent, or a phone call, or a message, or a disruption, or someone who wants you. Another emotional labour moment that either comes from the workplace, your business, your home life, another person that's relying on you, someone that needs something from you. Yeah, and it's very difficult then when we are high achieving women not to then have that stress spike and release. We don't have that release. Yeah, it spikes, it goes, and we're back to safety. We plateau. I use the word we because I include myself in this. This isn't about pointing fingers and saying that someone has done something right or wrong. Chronic cortisol elevation contributes to so many things, including things like increased inflammation, including things like blood sugar instability, including things like suppressed hormones like progesterone, which are naturally calming and good for sleep. You've got disrupted estrogen balance. You've got thyroid dysregulation. Your sleep is an absolute nightmare at times, yeah? So knowing all of these things helps you to see when you are asking yourself, am I under pressure? Am I under stress? And your answer to that is, I don't feel stressed. There is a difference to feeling stressed and having stress on the body. And actually, have you just learned to live that this level of stress is your norm? And if that's the case, then this is definitely the episode for you. I want you to think about the fact that your body repairs in down-shifting modes, in sleep, in deep sleep. It repairs in the parasympathetic nervous system when that is activated. You can activate that through beautiful things like mindful moments, breath works, gentle movements, things that bring you joy, moments where you're not performing, moments where you can escape. Yeah, whether that be through art, whether that be through reading, just moments you can escape is when your parasympathetic nervous system will switch on and you are in that repair mode. Okay, if you never truly downshift and repair, you're falling behind the wear and tear of your cells. Your cells are wearing and tearing quicker than you are repairing. What that means basically is if you are not taking time to look after you, then you are accelerating your biological aging process. You're aging quicker. And ultimately, as we age quicker, we're dying faster. That is very painful to hear. But there is a part of this that you do have some choice and control around. And when we look at the model of what we are living in as women, this part for me has been the piece that I have been ruminating on and processing, I would say, the whole time that I have then been self-employed. It wasn't until I came out of the corporate cogs and I was my own boss in my own business, working with other women in my business as their boss, that I recognized that, wow, this is something I was inside. This was the machine I was part of. And actually at times running my own business, I recognize I slipped back into that, into the hustle mode, into the keeping going mode, and then recognizing where we need to take time to rest and repair. So no one ever gets this 100% right. There's no such thing. But I would love for you to just listen into this part because it's very powerful, but it may trigger. So with the most love, we've got to go into this and understand that when we open up and talk about these things, we are more aware. And that's what I want for you, more awareness. So the model itself, and this is probably where the conversation becomes quite controversial, but I love that. Okay, I'm not here to just flow along. I'm here to disrupt. I'm here to help you see, hear, and experience things that maybe you need to see, hear, and experience in these moments. This is why you tune in, right? Each week, because I'm going to be super honest with you. I think I might be the first to cover this as clearly and as openly because I haven't found anyone else talking about this type of topic. But modern corporate and business success culture was never built with female biology in mind. The more that we understand how the model was built, the more we can see that this was built in an era where leadership was overwhelmingly male. Overwhelmingly male. Masculine energy. Yeah? Boys' clubs. The male environments. Male-dominated roles and industries. We still have them. I don't know whether that's a good or bad thing, and we're not here to discuss that. But what we are here to look at is the high performer looked like this. Relatively stable daily hormone rhythms. Yeah, that's not us. That's not women. The system and the models for success were built on someone who had stable hormone rhythms. A person whose energy resets every 24 hours so that they can pick back up again the next day, do what needed to be done, reset, pick back up the next day, do what needed to be done, reset. That is not female biology. And a person that was expected to be available between 8 to 10 hours a day, but those hours were uninterrupted. Yeah, that's impossible when you have dependents, when you have caring duties. You don't just switch off being a mum if you have children that you are responsible for, or caring duties that you are the sole provider for. You don't just get to stop that and say for the next 8 to 10 uninterrupted hours, this is not me. As a female, you're relied upon more, and it's still that dynamic today. The odd exception, but we are still very much in the dynamic that we are holding down the dependent and the caring duties alongside other things. So we don't have those 8 to 10 uninterrupted hours in a day. That is not the female way. And they were built, these models, within successful careers, within successful business models, they were built for a person who likely had lots of domestic support at home. Now, some females of today do have that, but in traditional roles, the role of the homemaker, the role of the housekeeper, the role of have the food on the table. When I think back to even my parents' generation, that was still the role of the house, of the mum. Yeah, keep the house, bring the children up, food on the table, make sure everything is done, because the agreements and the roles within that were that that's what women did. And the male part of it was the breadwinner. I hate that phrase, but ultimately that's what we know it as, the provider. But that model aligns closely with the male endocrine pattern. The male endocrine pattern, the hormonal rhythms that aren't really rhythms. So male hormonal rhythms are largely linear. Yeah, they don't change much, if at all. Testosterone rises in the morning, it gradually declines throughout the day, and then it resets through that period of rest and recovery, and into the next morning we go again. It rises in the morning and it gradually declines throughout the day. So it's like a 24-hour cycle, which this model of business success and corporate career success was built upon, the ability to be able to have that spike in the morning, go do your working day, recharge through the night and come back the next day. But the female hormonal rhythms, they are not linear. They are a roller coaster. Whether you are thinking about this through premenopausal, cyclical menstrual cycles to perimenopause roller coasters and postmenopausal changes, we do not ever have a linear, uninterrupted rhythm. Our rhythm is operating on that roughly 28-day cycle when we are premenopausal, and then we're inside this, I don't know what hell cycle I'm in, when we're perimenopausal and postmenopausal. So for women, it's not as simple as one of our hormones just rising and declining throughout the day, resetting and doing the same the next day. Estrogen rises and falls. Progesterone rises and falls. Testosterone rises and falls. But we need sleep in order for that to rest and recover. We have metabolic demands that shift during these cognitive shifts. There are phases in a woman's cycle where we might experience things like we're sharper at some points of our cycle or within our perimenopause window, and we're not in others, and we struggle with brain fog and cognitive impacts. We might have motivation and stronger confidence in some parts of it, and we're just like, give me all the things. Yeah, I can spin all the plates and multitask. And other times where actually we have a greater need for rest and recovery, for more sleep, for lower stress tolerance, for a slower pace in the day. We have higher inflammatory sensitivity. And actually the corporate model was never designed for that. It rewards linear productivity, where it's like, I know I'm going to get the same out of you every day. It rewards consistent outputs. It rewards emotional stability and being strong, uninterrupted availability and always being on. And that just is not an account for our biology as women. As we fluctuate, we have this uncomfortable truth in all of this, that when women struggle inside this masculine model, we burn out. We have hormonal dysregulation, which is already in a dysfunctional state if we're in menopause. We get exhausted, and the narrative often becomes for us that we just can't do this. We need to lean in harder if we want more success. We need to manage our time better. We need to optimize our energy balance better. We need to be more disciplined. And worst case, it might be that you're told that, and you maybe tell yourself this, maybe I'm just not cut out for this environment. Maybe I just can't do this job. And more times than not, women will talk themselves out of promotions over the fact that they feel that they are maybe not good enough for it. But your male counterparts will not do the same. So when we fail as women to adapt, or we're seen to be failing to adapt, the model was never designed biologically for us in the first place. So how can we actually try to be as successful, or if not more, than our male counterparts when we're already facing a model that was never developed or designed for our cyclical hormonal fluctuations? It's not about who is more fragile or who is better at. It's about physiology. We have a different physiology from females to males. And when cyclical changes that we have, fluctuating hormones and biology happen, and we are being shoehorned into this linear performance structure without adequate recovery opportunity for us as women, then it's not truly flexible. And those modifications that we as women then need to reduce those stress load impacts are different. So this high achieving woman often feels that she is pushing against the grain. She's misaligned. We ignore fatigue, we ignore and we push through things that feel difficult. We are the woman behind the smile that is just really not wanting to go into the office that day, but she puts on a big smile as she pushes the doors open to get there. We maintain this emotional neutrality because we feel like we have to. And if we don't, heaven forbid we ever admit that things feel hard for us, because we will be thinking we are seen to be weak. This is heavy, right? It's sat on my heart for so long, and I want to share why. We are so competent as women. We can hold so much. We can spin the plates, but we carry this form of inadequacy because we feel like things are tougher for us. And they are, because the model was never designed for us. We've kind of shoehorned into something, that just doesn't hold our fluctuations in hormones. And the competence that we feel we really have to sit in can mask. We can mask so greatly. And I don't just share this with you as I'm pointing fingers at any one of you who are the successful career women or business women. I say this because I was her. I am her at times. I was the woman in the corporate roles that really pushed beyond my limits because I felt I had to prove. I felt I had to perform. I felt I had to be better than and break through those glass ceilings. And actually, it's difficult to see it when you're in it. I see it now because I've distanced away from it. I'm no longer in that environment. But there are times in my own company where I will slip into that masculine energy of performance, and I will slip into the overworking and the long shifts. And it's bringing our identity into who we are and what we do. Yeah, and recognizing that actually I've had the most success in my entire life when I've stepped out of the masculine model and allowed myself to be in the feminine flow. There's parts of me that will sit in masculine and parts of me that will sit in feminine, sometimes higher in one or the other. But I used to sit predominantly, I would say 99% of my corporate career in the masculine, never in the feminine. Had I switched that, would I have had greater success? That's just a rhetorical question at this point, right? So let's make this a little bit personal to you. Because for many high achieving women, and you are her because you are here, an ambition, having that ambition inside of you, that ambitious nature, it isn't just about your behavior. Okay? This is your identity. This is how you show up for you. That I can handle more, I can do more, I am fine, I don't need help. If I ask for help, it's a weakness. If I slow down, everything's going to fall apart. If I rest, then I might lose everything. But there's always this other part. Think of it as your masculine and feminine relationship together. It's fused. It's beautiful, right? I want you to think of this, and I invite you to think of this as it's biology, it's physiology, and it's about finding what works for you and your body. Because the whole point of this is not for me to share with you things you need to go do. But if you cannot get out of this hustle mode, constantly being in that hustle mode, there are consequences over long periods, over decades. So here's the question that I want to leave you with in part 1 of this episode. We're going to come back together for part 2. If this version of success requires you to ignore your biology, what your body needs, and it is costing you your aging cellular age, I say this very bluntly, okay? But if this is costing you the cell age, it is shaving parts, years, months, weeks, potentially even decades of your life currency. Is that success for you? Only you will know this. There's no right or wrong answer. It's a question. But if the traits that we've talked about here get us promoted as women, the hyper responsibility, the emotional containment that we will sit within sometimes, the decompressed emotions, the constantly being available, constantly switched on, dysregulating our own hormones for success, does that mean that it is future-proofing your career, your life, your health, your happiness. This isn't about abandoning ambition. I don't want you to look at this as, oh my gosh, I'm being told I need to not. It's not the case. It's far from it. I want you to have everything you dream of. I want you to have the ambition. I want you to have the success. I want you to have the dreams you have. But this is about disrupting you in the process a little bit. This is about disrupting the structure that has been built for men and not for you. Because when the model was built around this male biology rhythm of just linear and not for ours, there's something that has to give, something that has to be seen or changed. Because we cannot force ourselves into that linear cyclical, we're cyclical, we can't force into a linear physiology and biology platform for success. The cost may not show up for you immediately, but it will show up at some point. And I want you to sit with this. For many, the cost will show up at retirement. And by retirement, you have developed more, for most women, a linear biology. In postmenopause, you no longer have those fluctuations. In postmenopause, you no longer have the cyclical rhythm of your hormones like you had in pre and perimenopause. But by retirement, you're no longer in your career. Think about what I've just shared. I often wonder if this played a role in my own very early menopause. But again, that's a question I'll never have the answer to. In part 2, we're going to talk about what sustainable ambition looks like. So join me, because ambition in itself is not the enemy. I want you to have so much drive and ambition and success and happiness and the dreams that you desire. But we cannot have that chronic level stress without recovery. And this is something that you and I are going to redesign. So I'll see you in part 2. Before we wrap this one up, I'm going to ask you for something. And I almost never do this, okay? If this episode has helped you in any way and it made you feel seen, informed, or just a little bit less alone with everything you're facing right now, please literally take 2 seconds and hit that subscribe button. That simple click helps this podcast to reach more women around the world that are also needing to hear this. So go ahead, hit the subscribe button, and maybe even share it with one other person. That's what helps us grow, reach more people, and I'd absolutely love for you to do that. So come be part of this, come be part of the collective. And if you would like to, you can link in with me. You can come across into Instagram and find me at the.menopausecoach. I hope you've enjoyed this. Together, we are doing a big thing here. And I just hope that we can reach more and more women around this beautiful big world with these episodes. And your only role in this is a 2-second job to hit that subscribe button. So I'll see you in part 2.